Hello everybody, and welcome back to yet another one of our Idiot's Guides. I'll be your local idiot, Ash, here to teach you how to play the Pugilist. The Pugilist is going to be appealing to those of you who want that unarmed monk fist fighter type of style. The Pugilist is a melee DPS class. We've covered other melee DPS classes so far, the Lancer, things of that sort. But the Pugilist is a little bit more unique than most other melee DPS classes, so we're going to have to get into it a little bit here. Now remember, if you find anything in an Idiot's Guide which actually helps you or that you enjoy, then the best way to reward me is head pats and ear rubs. They're always welcome. So going into the Pugilist, rather than going straight into the combat rotation that you're going to have in battle, there's something that comes even before that in pretty much every encounter you're going to go into once you get to level 15 and above. See the gauge over here. Now the Pugilist is able to execute moves based on that gauge. And in order to fill that gauge, you need to open up the chakra that you have. Now when you're in battle, your meditation ability is only going to open up a single one of the chakra. But in order to use the attack that's associated with your meditation and your gauge, you need to have all 5 open. So, where with other classes, oftentimes when you're having to be at range when you're a melee class, or avoid enemy mechanics and get out of the orange bad zone so you're not getting hit by mechanics, you can have like a ranged attack even on your melee characters that you can do from a distance. You don't have that with Pugilist, but when you're avoiding mechanics or at range or anything like that, and you can't actively have like melee DPS uptime, your best bet is to be spamming meditation in order to fill up your gauge if it's not already filled. That's what you're going to be doing. But the important thing is, outside of combat, meditation will fill your gauge all the way up instantly. So before like every single encounter you get into, you're going to want to hit meditation and fill that gauge up. You're going to want to go into every single battle with this gauge full, if at all possible, right? So between fights, you want to make sure to hit that if your gauge isn't full and fill it up, so that you have Steel Peak like just ready to be used the moment you start a fight. Well, not exactly the moment you start a fight, because Steel Peak can't be used until you're in a fight. So you'll have to get off some other attack to start the fight, and then you can go into Steel Peak. And it's a good one. It's 180 potency, and it's just a decent single target attack. It's an ability, it's off the global cooldown, you can weave it with other attacks, that sort of thing, but mostly you just need to make sure you keep your gauge full so that you can use it. Now, I don't really waste time using meditation when I'm actively fighting with melee like uptime, and I'm in on the enemies and I'm actually fighting them. I don't waste time with meditation. Whenever you use your abilities, there's a chance you'll open one of the chakras just by doing like your normal rotation. So you don't have to worry about it. Save meditation for before fights, between fights, and whenever you're not able to get melee uptime. Whenever you have to move away from the enemy for any reason. That's when you're going to want to be using meditation to fill the gauge. And then as for Steel Peak, pretty much just use that whenever you have it. Alright? Now that we've covered the more unique mechanic of the Pugilist that you need to keep track of, we can get into the basic combat rotation. But as I said, it's a bit different from your other melee classes, where other melee classes and tanks tend to have a combo system, where usually it'll be three attacks long. Sometimes it's a little different, but generally you'll have like attack 3 combos off of attack 2 and attack 2 combos off of attack 1. So you'll want to do that, right? Like your 1, 2, 3 combo. So the Pugilist has something similar, but not exact. Like, Snap Punch does not combo off of True Strike, which does not combo off of Boot Shine. That's not how this combo system works. They can combo off of each other. I can absolutely hit 1, 2, and 3 and get all the benefits of a combo attack. But that's not what's causing it. The Pugilist, and by extension later the Monk, has forms, like battle stances, battle forms, pretty much. And the way that your melee rotation is going to work is by moving into each of these different forms, one after the other, right? If you look at over here where the tooltip is, you'll be able to see additional effect, changes form to Raptor. So the forms that the Monk has, well, the forms that the Pugilist, and then by extension the Monk, has, are Raptor, Quirrell, and Oppo Oppo, which is basically like Raptor, Tiger, and Monkey, pretty much, in this game. But the important thing is not, I need to specifically use this attack, then this attack, then this attack. The important thing is you need to move from Raptor to Quirrell to Oppo Oppo to Raptor to Quirrell to Oppo Oppo to Raptor to Quirrell, to just keep cycling it like that. That's your rotation, is to just keep cycling Raptor, Quirrell, Oppo Oppo, right? And if you look at the additional effects on the tooltip again, Raptor can only be executed in Raptor form, changes form to Quirrell, can only be executed in Quirrell form, changes form to Oppo Oppo. That's how it goes. And then you may notice here, there's something that says Oppo Oppo form bonus guarantees a critical hit. So that means if you've comboed into like Snap Punch or Demolish, either of those really, and you've activated Oppo Oppo form, you will get a benefit here. But what you'll notice it does not say here is can only be executed in Oppo Oppo form. So that's why I was mentioning Raptor first. That's your opener. Raptor is your opener, right? You can get bonuses by comboing a Raptor move off of an Oppo Oppo move because you're in the right stance, but your Quirrell moves and your Oppo Oppo moves can't actually be executed unless you're in the right stance. So you're always going to open with a Raptor move. That's how you're always going to open it. So, let's go ahead and get into the actual flow of combat. Like I said, you're always going to open with a Raptor move. Now, you have your single target Raptor move, which is your Boot Shine, and you have your AoE Raptor move, which is Arm of the Destroyer. And this one is all around you. It's just like the way that the Gladiator's AoE attack works, right? This is not a cone, it's not a line, it's a straight up circle around you. And so that's how you're going to get the best damage out of it, is by making sure the enemies are around you. Right? So all enemies nearby or a single target. And that's your opener. And you'll notice that my Quirrell moves have now lit up because I'm comboing into them. But I don't have to use True Strike. I can use any Quirrell move that I want because I'm now in Raptor stance, so I can use any Quirrell move that I might have. I can use that to continue the combo. So the choices that you get when you go into Raptor form and you need a Quirrell ability is True Strike, which doesn't really have any additional benefit. It's just a Raptor form move that changes your form to Quirrell. Or twin snakes. So you're going to want to start with twin snakes, like near the beginning of a battle, because what this one does is it gives you a damage boost on all of your attacks, right? That's your additional effect. Disciplined Fist gives you 10% damage boost for 15 seconds. So you're going to want to be executing that one every time your damage boost is getting a little low. Like I said, it's only 15 seconds. That tends to be enough for 1 or maybe 2 more combos. Like 2 more full cycles around your forms. But you'll need to kind of feel that out yourself to figure out when the right time to use it is. And then, when we get into Coral form, our options are Snap Punch, which again is not a damage boost because you're in Coral form. It's just the right combo to use, the right combo move to use because you're in Coral form, right? It just follows up the normal strikes. These don't have like additional potency. They're just the right combo to use pretty much. And then Demolish. Now Demolish does have an additional effect. It's a dot. So when you're starting a fight, what you're really going to want to start with is going to be either your AoE or single target, either one of those to open up, into a damage boost, into a dot on the enemy. So your first cycle through, you're going to want to use Boot Shine or Armor the Destroyer, and then you're definitely going to want to do Twin Snakes Demolish, because that'll give you a boost, and then it'll cause a dot on the enemy that you're fighting. After that, you can do just the normal combo, right? But this also brings up another thing about the monk that's a little not unique. Some other classes have it, but very rare. Very few classes have it, and very few of their abilities have it. And that is positionals. So that brings us into something that we need to keep track of. When I click on this enemy, you'll notice he's got this big ring around him. Now, luckily on the striking dummy, that ring does not follow me. Normally, if you're fighting an enemy, whoever that enemy is attacking is the person they'll be facing, and that ring will move to follow whoever they're facing, or whatever direction they're facing. That's generally one of the reasons why what I went over when I was going over the tanks is, as a tank, you pretty much want to grab the enemies and then like get behind them and then sort of stay there. You don't want to be running around and circling them and all this nonsense as a tank. You want to be coming in towards the enemy, hit them, and then move past them and like get them to face you. The benefit that you're doing for the rest of your party is that the enemy will turn around to face you, and that'll expose their rear and their sides to the rest of your party that's behind you. Now that's what matters here for positionals. Now you'll notice Snap Punch, 220 potency, 280 when executed from a target's flank. Flank is your target's side. If you execute Snap Punch while you're standing on the side of your target, and this is an important thing to note, this is the front of your target, this is the side of your target, sure, but this is the side of your target, that's probably flank, and that's probably front, right? You don't have to be right on the arrow, you just need to be like beside or in front or behind. See, when you're doing flank and rear, it's much easier to keep track of. I mean, much easier to keep track of. Because you see this little break point right here in the line? That's your break point. If you're over here, you're on their flank. If you're here, you're on their rear. And that's all that really matters there. If that line where it breaks is your break point. This is rear, this is flank. This is also flank, and this is also rear. but that's your breakpoint there. And it's important to remember these things on Pugilist and Monk specifically because of the fact that they have positionals, and you're going to need to actually be kind of dancing around the enemies a little bit while you're fighting them with this class. Now, not as much as you used to have to. Back in previous expansions and previous patches, the Pugilist and the Monk had a lot more positional abilities. They've removed the positionals on a lot of those abilities, but you do still have a couple, right? Nothing on Twin Snakes, nothing on your Raptor form abilities, nothing on any of your Coral abilities, at least here, up to level 30. You don't have anything on any of your Raptor or Coral, but both of your Oppo abilities do have positionals, and they're different ones, right? For your normal combo, you're going to want to make sure that you slide to the side, right? Because Snap Punch has flank, which means you're going to want to make sure that you're on the side of the enemy when you're using Snap Punch, if at all possible. If you don't get a positional, it's not going to be the end of the world, right? You're just going to deal a little less damage. And then if you're using Demolish, you're going to want to make sure that you're on the rear of the enemy, which means when you're going into a fight for your first setup, you're going to want to go into your damage boost and then get behind the enemy and use Demolish for your dot with an extra bonus to potency because you were behind the enemy. And then you're going to want to be going through your normal rotation. You want to make sure to get to the side for Snap Punch, right? So that's how you're going to be doing it as a Pugilist or as a Monk, is you're going to want to make sure that you're sort of sliding through the enemy's target ring in order to get to the right position as you need to. It's really not too bad. It's one more thing on your skills that you need to keep track of, right? You need to make sure to check your skills to see if they have positionals and try to remember which skills are which positions so that you can kind of dance around the enemy as you go. It's not too much. It is just, like I said, one more thing to keep track of. And that's really it for your combat rotation, right? Instead of specifically 1, 2, 3 combo, you need to remember you have forms. So you'll have like a 1, 2, 3 form that you're cycling through, right? Raptor, Coral, Oppo, Oppo. Raptor, Coral, Oppo, Oppo. As long as you're keeping those forms going, you're dealing better damage and getting additional effects out of each of your strikes. And then, like I said, Steel Peak, right? But when you're in battle, it only opens a single chakra at a time, but it has a quick cooldown. This has a 1 second cooldown, so you can do it very quickly when you need to. Like when you're actually avoiding enemy mechanics, you can actually just be pumping out the meditation super fast, right? But again, like I've said, it's an ability, so it's an off global cooldown. So you can do it before a fight and then start a fight and weave your Steel Peak right in there. That's 180 potency, so it's decent. Let's see what our biggest potency, 180, 270, 220 or 280, 100, 250, 100. So Snap Punch is still going to be your highest potency. For Monk, well, for Pugilist, at this level, that doesn't really matter too much which one is the highest potency. Often finding out which of your abilities or weapon skills or whatever has the highest potency attack will be more beneficial for the classes that have a damage boosting ability. Not one like Twin Snakes, not one that lasts a certain amount of seconds, but one that's like your next attack will be boosted by this much damage, right? Because then you can make sure to pop that just before your big potency attack and just boost that potency even more. Now, like I said, for Pugilist at this level, you don't have anything like that, so knowing what is your highest potency attack doesn't matter too much right now. Just make sure you're keeping your forms going and use Steel Peak whenever you can. That covers pretty much all of the basic battle. Beyond that, it's all abilities that we've already seen a bunch of times on other classes, right? You've got Second Wind, which is a cure for yourself. Good to use that one when you're taking some damage to take a little heat off of the healers having to keep you healed all the time. Fairly long cooldown, so you're not going to be able to just use it constantly, but if you're taking some damage, Second Wind's a good way to keep yourself up. You've got Bloodbath, which makes sure that a portion of all damage you're dealing gets brought back to you as health. But it's just another method to sort of keep your own health up, right? Generally, Bloodbath is a better place to start. If you're starting to lose health, but you're not super low yet, popping Bloodbath ain't a bad idea, and you can use it to just sort of keep your health up. Second Wind tends to be if you're losing a bit more health and need sort of a burst heal right in the moment. It's not a giant heal. It's not gonna like completely turn the tide, but if you're right on the edge, it might help turn the tide. And then you've got Leg Sweep. Again, we've done this one on a bunch of other classes. It's a 3-second, I think I was thinking of one of the other stuns. It's a 3-second stun on a target. It's good to stun a target out of some attacks, but it won't work on all of them, and it's good to stun targets that have just really powerful basic auto attacks, so that they're not dealing much damage to people for the next couple of seconds. And then we have Feint. I've gone over these ones before. It's a reduction in the amount of damage that a target can deal, 10% to their physical, 5% to their magic. But it only lasts 10 seconds. So using Feint just randomly can be somewhat useful, but not very useful. Feint works best if you know something is coming. Feint works best when you can actually like see the boss's cast bar, or the mini boss, or the enemy, whatever you're facing actually. When you can see their cast bar and you see that they're about to use a big ability that's going to hit you or the tank or the whole party or hit someone for a lot of damage, you can throw a feint on them as their cast bar is finishing. You may not want to throw it right at the beginning. If it's a long cast ability, it literally may take longer than 10 seconds just for them to cast it. But throw a feint on them as they're about to cast the ability, and that'll reduce the amount of damage that big hit is going to deal to your party. Boom, there's your feint. Doesn't really show up much. I mean, I can see it, the debuff on the enemy, right? But it doesn't really matter much because the striking dummy isn't going to do any attacks to me anyway. That is going to cover pretty much everything you need to know about the Pugilist up to level 30. As I've said before, by the time you're getting up to level 30 in your class, you'll be getting close to the point in the main storyline where you'll start getting access to the higher tier, more advanced jobs. In the case of Pugilist, that's Monk. There'll be a lot of different abilities to go over for that, but I'll go over it when I start talking about the jobs themselves. So, thanks for joining me for another Idiot's Guide, and hopefully I was able to help some of you guys out with understanding the basics of some of your classes. And in this case, the basics of the Pugilist. It's a fun class to play, but like I said, it does introduce positionals, which is one more thing to keep track of. So, remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Maybe want to see more of this sort of content. Go ahead and subscribe if you're interested in just keeping up with whatever other content I may produce for the channel. And I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.